Hey Scorpios, how y'all doing? Welcome. We're going to be taking a look at your first half of August, general reading here. So in your meditation, the first thing that comes to mind is I got this image of, well, first of all, I heard the words using your emotions as a bridge. I saw the image of a large pink elephant, and this elephant was in the middle of an otherwise busy city street. I actually saw a street where I used to live in Jersey City, which is in the New York City area. And I saw, usually had a lot of traffic on the street, a lot of parked cars, a lot of movement. But in this meditation, I saw this street, it was very vanilla sky, like suddenly it was empty. And there was just, it was very quiet, very odd for this street. It was completely empty, no sound. And then I saw this lovely, sweet pink elephant kind of walk into the frame and then stand in the middle of the road. Now, in the road, there are two sidewalks, and then in the middle is where the cars would go, like a city road or street. And I saw this elephant standing in the middle of the road, and I heard my emotions could stop traffic. And then I got the sense of allowing your emotions to be a bridge to get from one point to the other. And then I saw an image from Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, which is always fun, of when Arwen, the elf Arwen, she uses, there's this big river on two strips of land and then this huge river in the middle. And she gets to the other side of this river. She's ferrying Frodo across the river to safety. And then, you know, those who are pursuing them, I forget what they're called, but they're like the Shadow Kings or whatever they are. I forget what they're called. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you would. But they were, the kings who had died and shadow wraiths. And she used the water, she allowed it to turn into, by her, elvish magic, turned the river water into horses that were able to stampede upon, these evil beings that were pursuing her and Frodo so that she could get him to safety. So it was like this aspect of the water, right? Water represents our emotions, right? Intuition. You as water signs, that is you. So there's something about allowing your emotions to be a bridge from one point to another, and then really embracing the water aspect of your being, right? I think one of the most comforting parts about emotions, of course, I'm an air sign, so I would say this, but I do feel like one of the most comforting aspects of emotions is that they are temporary. They're impermanent. They shift, they change, right? They never stay. You can have constant, feelings that, if you love someone, you can have a constant love. But in terms of your emotions on a moment-to-moment basis, they're changeable. They're shiftable. And I feel like you are being called during this time to work with your emotions as someone who has power over the water element. Like if you were in The Last Airbender and your element was water and you were able to work with that element, right? And bend it to your will and allow it to be a bridge from one point to another. It's a certain aspect of empowerment and knowing that how you feel about something, you're able to take that and transform it and allow it to take you from one place to another. It feels like an opportunity to be a waterbender. I just gotta go I don't know, I'm getting Lord of the Rings, I'm getting the Last Airbender, but I feel like you're being invited to be a waterbender around your own emotions. Pink elephants, let's talk about that briefly. So pink elephants represent memory and vulnerability, right? Pink, that color is all about the past and how we remember things. Elephant medicine is about memory, ancestry, but it's also the gentle remover of obstacles, right? It's Virgo energy there. So it's interesting with that elephant being the gentle remover of obstacles and then allowing your emotions to be a bridge from one point to another. There's something about a transition point, and I feel like it's a hint. There's a hint of a transition point in the background. There's something about, there's an element of this that I'm feeling that says look over here. It's like the magician's trick of misdirection, if you're familiar with that concept, where a magician whilst performing, will have the audience draw their focus to one point while they're doing the magic of the trick over here. It's classic misdirection. I feel like there's an element of that, but it feels incredibly positive. I feel like what's coming up for you during this time in your environment is there going to be aspects of misdirection where your focus is called to, like, for an example, you could have a really busy time at work, right, during this time frame. Just a lot going on with work. You've got deadlines to meet, just for an example. You're going, and just focusing on the work. And the universe, the aspect of the misdirection, is working on something else for you. That's maybe something that you've been waiting on, some good news that's coming, but the watched pot never boils. And so it's like you're focusing over here, and you're so busy focusing on other things that then when the time comes, you turn around and suddenly, boom, something you've been waiting on arrives. An opportunity is right here. This other thing comes through because your focus has shifted to something else. And because you stopped watching the pot, it finally boils. Interesting. And it feels a bit exciting as well. Let's go ahead and see what your cards have to say. Hey Scorpios, let's go ahead and see what your animal energy is for the first half of August. Animal energy for Scorpio for the first half of August. Oh, brilliant. You know who else got this was Gemini. You might want to take a look at that Gemini reading. You guys got the same animal, which doesn't, it's rare when that happens. So I'm going to point that out. So Nightingale energy. This is really beautiful because this equates to the Queen of Swords in the Tarot, which is about making needed edits, coming from a place of high discernment, and also using your voice to speak your truth or to advocate for yourself or others, right? It's an interesting one, Nightingale, and that Queen of Swords energy, because it's something that can feel a bit daunting or a bit uncomfortable to use your voice or set boundaries or speak uncomfortable truths or whatever this is for you. But once you do it, it always feels good after. It's kind of like that aspect of the truth will set you free. There's something to this, but it feels like with this Nightingale that there's, the Nightingale literally sitting on a moon. We have this full moon in Aquarius on August 12th, which is going to be influencing everything and going, hey, let's think creatively. Hey, let's think out of the box, right? Which is interesting with that misdirection aspect of it, but it's misdirection in a really happy sense, right? This feels like this is going to come up for you in ways that involve your communication style and also news and messages and things that involve your mind, your critical thinking, right? It's very airy. Very interesting here. And then we're also talking about using your emotions as a bridge. And then look at that moon here. It kind of looks like that, and then the blue there. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Let's go ahead and see what's going on, Scorpio. Waterbender. I keep hearing it. I mean, perfect. So we have Judgment here. That's perfect. So Judgment, the tagline for the Judgment key is very much looking back with pleasure, right? It's about your perspective. It's about the past. Now, what's interesting with this is that we saw the Elephant, which is also about the past, right? It's about memory, recollection, ancestry. It is Virgo energy, but there's / Hermit energy because it's the gentle remover of obstacles. But there's another aspect of the Elephant that is Three of Swords, because Three of Swords is about heart pain that stems from the past. There's something coming up around this. I feel like you are being given an opportunity that says you have an option, you have an opportunity, you are being presented with a way to do things differently and thus have a different experience. I'm telling you, this reading feels like it's holding hands with the Gemini reading. You really might want to watch that. But I feel like you are being presented with an opportunity, right? How about we think about different ways to do things, different ways to communicate, right? Different ways to go about what we do and therefore have different results. There's something about that with the Judgment key. Also here with the fact that that's the goddess there, she's at the altar of the goddess. So there's something here about surrendering to you could say surrendering to a higher power, but I feel like there's an aspect of you that is going, I am willing to relinquish, the way that I've always done things. I am willing to do things differently. I'm willing to consider a different route, a different mindset, a different potential for myself or for others, because there's a part of me that understands that maybe I can't see as clearly or as far ahead as said higher power can, right? So there's this aspect of like, okay, all right, universe, take the wheel. She will go, okay, I'm willing to do things differently. Let me just think about, we think about the word judgment as well, right? How do we use that word, right? When we consider someone, we go, well, how good is their judgment, right? And then we have the Queen of Swords here, which is all about using your best judgment, right? To make edits and be discerning and use your voice and communicate, right? So there's something about this that's coming forward to say, like, okay, this is the last major arcana before we get to the world key, which is the end of a given cycle. So do I feel like you are getting to the end of a certain cycle? Absolutely, right? And I'm getting called to speak of this. So we are in the time of Lammas, right? August 1st. I'm filming this on August 1st, time of Lammas. This is the time where, as the wheel turns, where we really celebrate the sun, because next month, September, the autumnal equinox, at least in the northern hemisphere, is when we start moving into that dark time of year. Now, you as Scorpios are the death key, right? Which equates to that time of your birthday season is in the time of Samhain or Halloween, which within the context of the Wheel of the Year, which is that pentagram there, the Wheel of the Year is the end of one year and the beginning of a new one, which equates to that death key energy, right? So there's an aspect of going, okay, like I am ending a certain cycle, right? I'm being willing to go, okay, I'm willing to surrender over or accept that maybe there are potentials and ways of going about things that I haven't before seen. And let me just open myself up to ideas or potentials that I haven't before, which is so Aquarius, with that Aquarius full moon coming in. The fact that this is contextualized through a ritual as well, I do feel like, and with this moon here, that full moon in Aquarius on August 12th, that is a really, 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 really ripe time for you energetically to take some time in stillness, or to take some time within yourself to really expand your mind with the intention of, what am I not seeing that could help me? What am I not seeing that could inspire me, right? I'm hearing missing puzzle piece. There's something, right, that is going to be brought to your attention. And back to that bridge, of allowing your emotions to be a bridge from one place to another. Feel your way into this and allow your feelings to really dictate and inspire your intention around that full moon, right? You are the auteur of this energy, right? You can do with it as you will. But there's something about bridging between the past and what could be. Oh, I love it. Look at this. 8 of Wands. This is amazing. Look at this, like, magic queen. She actually looks like she's from The Last Airbender a little bit. But look, 8 of Wands. Remember, wands are about the actions that we do or don't take, right? It's about when to move, when to be still. The number 8 is the number of monetary and physical prosperity. It's the number of money, right, and abundance. The 8 of Wands traditionally is about quick movement from one place to another. It's about ascension. It's about news, messages, and seemingly overnight progress, right? Do you remember what we were talking about with that aspect of misdirection? And then we had the 8 of Wands here, which is like, I'm telling you, it's like you're over here working with the full moon energy, really reflecting, really thinking about and imagining and being open to guidance around, how you could do things differently, how you might shift your perspective about what is in your best potential that maybe you didn't consider before, right? You're busy doing that, and then boom, you look back over here and it's like, whoop, like something comes from left field. And it feels like a surprise, but something comes from left field that it's like, wow, that really came through. Wow, I was considering all this, and then I got this offer. Wow, I was considering all this, and then finally this one thing came through, or something, moved ahead that was stagnant. 8 of Wands, it's, again, messages, travel, offers abundance. It's also a very sunny energy as well. Back to that aspect of llamas, right? It's really, really beautiful. This is an aspect of streamlining things where it's just like full speed ahead, but in a way that feels like it's certain progress, something that you began already, or that the seeds were already planted for, that you're building from and seeing seeing momentum around. It's really lovely. This is going on. I mean, not surprised at all. So here we have the Ace of Swords here. So more swords here to go with that Queen of Swords there. This is really brilliant. You know, the Ace of Swords represents writers, but also represents big communication. We were already talking about that with the Queen of Swords. There's an aspect of this as well where when you know, right? I'm again, the Gemini reading, but when you know, this is that, like, that sort of truth, that absolute knowing, and that point of clarity that says, like, I absolutely know that this is right for me. I absolutely know what to say. I absolutely know what to do. This is that beautiful clarity point that just goes, whoo, it's that absolute truth point, right? Whether this is communication, whether this is something that you're writing, whether this is something that comes to you, this is that absolute clarity that is not in any way ambiguous, right? It could not be more clear. Now, a tagline of the Ace of Swords is the answers lie in the stillness, which is really interesting here since you have Judgment, someone like at a beautiful garden altar, right? With the Eight of Wands, this is someone working ritual, setting intentions, working magic, right? Which leads to the Ace of Swords and that truth. I feel like there's a clarity point that's coming to you, and I feel like what helps get, like, the unseen aspect of this is that bridge of water. That emotional bridge. It gets you water bend, right? Water bend to air bend that gets you from one point to another. There's something about this. But there is an aspect of you that kind of wants to look at and using, an open mind and open heart without, inner judgment, to really look at the choices that you made and where you've been. Look at what that's gotten you. Appreciate where it went right, and then also appreciate, be honest about, how it could have gone differently, in a way that was more desirable or beneficial to you in some way. And then in doing so, you're going to see a lot of quick upward movement. I feel like, again, it's that aspect of misdirection where you're being asked to do this and then other things are working. This could even be a shift in mindset that unlocks something in your environment or circumstances, right? Where you're not watching that particular pot and then it starts to boil. Overflowing, honey, with the Ace of Wands. And it's funny because it's fire as well. And we were talking about the watch pot that never boils. And then that Ace of Swords. It's like you're coming into a point of alignment and certainty that maybe you haven't had the pleasure of, having in your energy field for a moment, right? It's really beautiful, Scorpio. Let's go ahead and get some advice, shall we? Get some advice here. The fact that this Nightingale, the way that this Nightingale is looking at the Ace of Swords, I feel like there's going to be a group of you that gets a very clear idea for something that involves writing or a communication opportunity, or something comes in writing, whether it's a written offer or a message, something. There's something about how this time is leading up to this, and I feel like it could, around the time of the full moon, like all of this energy, and there's something that happens. Because the full moon is also about manifestation. It's the Aquarius full moon. Aquarian or air signs, which are about communication. There's something about this culminating around the full moon. There's something about this. What's the advice for Scorpio? Oh, are you serious? Scorpio, hello. You got the world is your advice. What were we saying with Judgment? Isn't this what comes after Judgment? Yes, we talked about this. Now, what's even better is you are represented here in this key because the world represents the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, right? of which you are one. So this is really brilliant here. It's very powerful, the fact that you are being, shown that this is the completion point. When this comes up as your advice, you are really being urged to close out the given cycles of what has been and embrace what could be from a place of happy recognition, joy, and appreciation. Right? It's really beautiful. You couldn't have gotten better advice. I'm really drawn to this laurel wreath aspect of this as well, which just says like, well done. You've gotten here. Appreciate this time and really allow yourself to receive all of the good and change, the happy change and progress and gifts that are coming to you, right? But again, we were talking about Scorpio season, Samhain, about the death key, about endings that make way for new beginnings. We're talking about in the context of the wheel of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere, that your birthday season is the pagan end of the year and beginning of the new year. And then we have the world key, which is the beginning of the cycle before we get the fool key, which begins it again. There's something about the endings and beginnings of this, and we're talking about this bridge of allowing your emotions to be your bridge from one place to another. There's something about that, Scorpio. There's going to be a significant transition point for you during this time. I find that very exciting for you. It feels exciting. It feels exciting. Remember I saw the elephant in an otherwise busy road? And we have this judgment here in the quiet and taking time in the stillness, looking back in order to move forward. And then we have the moving forward here with the Ace of Wands. Suddenly everything's happening. Something about that, Scorpio. Let's get an oracle. I'm feeling like the vintage. Let's go with this one. Oh, stop. Stop. Don't. New beginnings, Scorpio. What were we just saying? The world leading into the Fool, the ending of a cycle, and the beginning of a new one. Literally. That baby about to fly away. But I love this. New beginnings. New beginnings, Scorpio. This is so positive and beautiful. I am really excited to hear how this manifests for you guys. Please let me know in the comments because it's very clear to me. I feel it very distinctly. Also, you see these stars here as well. I feel like that's also commenting on the full moon in Aquarius. There's something about that. And again, I feel like it would be a missed opportunity for you not to take some time to really look back before you move forward because that is what's happening. The way in which you do so, the manner in which you do so, the time in which you do so, it directly relates to the attitude with which you do this. And I feel like that is the point of allowing your emotions to be a bridge from one point to another and the whole water bending aspect of it, right? New beginnings. Really beautiful, Scorpio. Couldn't be better. But that being said, I'm sending you so many blessings for your first half of August. I so hope that this helps and resonates. If so, please do let me know in the comments below. I love reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would so appreciate that. And that being said, just thank you. Thank you so, so much for being here. And most of all, and as always, thank you for being you. And be well. Until next time.